My name is Erica Martin, and I'm 38 years old. I earned my spot in engineering school through hard work, bought and restored a charming old apartment in Denver, and for 5 long years, I let my brother and his wife live there rent-free. Little did I know I would soon regret making that decision. They say family appears when we need them most. I used to believe that wholeheartedly, until the day I found myself lying in a hospital bed, barely able to sit up after emergency surgery. And my sister-in-law, she simply laughed in my face when I dared to ask for help. "My kids need new tablets," she said, tapping on her smartwatch as if my medical bills were a bad joke. I perfectly remember the purple coat she was wearing, the smell of the hospital that hung in the air as she marched out of the room, leaving me there, surrounded by sterile walls and an oppressive silence. At that moment, something inside me broke. Or perhaps, something I had buried for too long finally began to rebuild itself. I used to make excuses for their mess, for the feeling that everything was owed to them, for the way they acted as if my generosity was a favor they were doing me. But when I truly needed them, when my health faltered and I found myself vulnerable, they simply abandoned me. And in that abandonment, they made a crucial mistake. They assumed the quiet one wouldn't fight back. They thought my kindness was synonymous with weakness. They believed they had one. Little did they know that I don't burn bridges. I wait for the perfect moment to cut the rope. And this time, I wasn't going to scream. I was going to silence them with strategy, with facts, and with the law. This is the story of how I recovered everything they tried to steal from me. 5 years earlier, when my brother Roberto's startup failed and Zoe lost her marketing job, they showed up at my doorstep with a 2-year-old, a baby, a moving truck, and eyes full of silent expectation. "We just need 6 months," Roberto said, holding the baby while Zoe pretended to cry behind designer sunglasses, holding hands with their other child. At the time, I had just closed the deal on a 2-bedroom apartment in North Denver. It wasn't huge, but it was mine. I had spent years saving, sacrificing vacations, dates, and sleep to achieve that dream. Yet, when Roberto asked, I didn't hesitate. "Of course," I said. "Whatever you need." And I truly meant it. The first few weeks were even easy. The kids were noisy but sweet. Zoe cooked once or twice, and Roberto started picking up freelance work. But weeks turned into months, and suddenly, my guest room was the kids' room. My home office had become a makeshift nursery, and I found myself tiptoeing around my own home like a stranger. I didn't complain. Not when Zoe accidentally donated my coffee table during one of her decluttering phases. Not when Roberto's late-night video conferences kept me awake, even though I had work the next day. Not even when they changed my Wi-Fi password for security reasons and forgot to tell me. Every time I thought about saying something, Zoe would throw in a passive-aggressive remark. "Good thing you're single. It's the only reason we can make this work." Or, "This place was so cold before we moved in. We've really made it a home." As if they were doing me a favor. And perhaps in my silence, they thought I agreed. But I wasn't foolish. I watched as their lives improved. New clothes, the latest cell phones, weekend trips. Zoe even created a lifestyle social media profile and filmed tours of her house, with my furniture in the background. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that any day they would find a place and leave. I clung to the deadline Roberto had promised. Just 6 months. 6 months turned into a year. Then another. When the 4th year arrived, the children called the guest room theirs, and Zoe had completely stopped thanking me. Gratitude had morphed into entitlement, as if my kindness was just background noise. And worst of all, I let it happen. I told myself I was being generous, that family sticks together. But deep down I was afraid. Afraid of confrontation, of making things awkward, of being called cold. So I kept my mouth shut. I worked late, avoided dinners, spent weekends in cafes, just to breathe. I was the peaceful sister, the easygoing one, the doormat with a smile, until my body gave out. The stress, the long hours, the silent resentment, it all hit me in the form of a bowel rupture and a pile of hospital bills. And for the first time in my adult life, I needed to ask for help. And when I did, I discovered exactly where I stood in that family dynamic. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and artificial lemon. Tubes ran from my arms to machines I couldn't name, and every breath felt like a punishment for demanding too much from a body I had ignored for years. Zoe stood at the foot of my bed, her manicured finger swiping across her phone screen. "Are you serious? You want us to give you money?" she said, without even looking at me. I blinked slowly, still groggy from the anesthesia. "Just a little help. The insurance didn't cover everything. I have deductibles, post-operative medications." She cut me off with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "Erica, we have our own bills too," Zoe retorted, her voice laced with impatience. "Inflation is sky high, and the twins need new phones like yesterday." The coldness of those words hit me even before I fully processed them. It wasn't the chilly hospital air conditioning, but the stark realization that after years of silent sacrifices, I had become disposable. "You and Roberto have lived in my apartment for 5 years, I reminded her, trying to stay calm. "Rent-free." "I just thought." She finally looked up, her lips curved into a mocking smile. "Oh, so now we're going to bring up the apartment story again? You act like we've trashed the place. We've taken care of it, that counts. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just a rewriting of reality, where my generosity was reclassified as their labor." I tried to sit up, but the searing pain shot through my abdomen like wildfire. Zoe sighed, impatient. "You should have planned better. Honestly, you've always been the organized one, haven't you? You'll figure it out." She took a selfie before leaving. "Oh, and the renovation people are coming to the house. We're going to modernize the kitchen. It's so outdated." Outdated. That was the word she used to describe the vintage cabinets I had painstakingly restored with my own 2 hands. The same hands that were now trembling with pain. My stomach churned, not from the surgery, but from something far deeper. Betrayal, fury. Hours later, Carla walked into the room, carrying a thermos of miso soup and a file under her arm. She looked at me and said, "Zoe was here." Superficially, I murmured. Carla didn't smile. "I've been thinking. Have you checked the registry for your property lately?" I frowned. "No. Why would I? That apartment has been mine for 10 years. Carla pulled out her tablet, her fingers flying across the screen. "Because there's something odd. When was the last time you saw your deed?" My heart started to pound. "It's in the file cabinet in the home office," I answered slowly. The office Zoe had turned into her media room. Carla turned the screen towards me. My name was gone from the official record. A transfer had been registered 3 months prior, right around the time I started feeling unwell. "I never signed anything," I whispered. "Are you sure?" Carla asked gently. "Think carefully." Images flashed through my mind like snapshots. Zoe smiling sweetly, handing me a stack of papers while saying, "Just sign here quickly, condo stuff." "She tricked me," I said. Carla nodded. "We'll call Sebastian about the fraud, but carefully. If it's what I think, we'll need to tread lightly." For the first time in weeks, I felt something stronger than despair. Strategy. Maybe it was the morphine. Maybe the mask had finally cracked. But I knew one thing. I was done playing nice. In the following days, as I recovered, Carla and Sebastian built the case like architects. They uncovered forged signatures, my name scrawled with odd slants and inconsistent spacing. Stamps from a notary whose license had been revoked. "Amateur work," Sebastian said. "They thought you'd never check." Of course not. I was the easygoing one, the nice sister, the woman too polite to fight. What they forgot is that I build systems for a living, and when systems break, I fix them. "What's the next step?" I asked. Carla's eyes gleamed with something sharper than sympathy. "We document everything. Every change they've made, every signature they've forged, every passive-aggressive message on the answering machine. When you're strong enough, we strike." I looked at the stack of medical bills and nodded. Let them think they had one. Carla smiled that way a lion must smile when its prey feels too comfortable. I was discharged a week later. No phone call from Roberto. No offer to pick me up. Just silence. But that was fine because silence, I had learned, could also be a weapon. Carla drove me back to what used to be my home. I sat in the passenger seat, my fingers clenched around the strap of my purse. As we turned the corner onto my street, I held my breath. The craftsman-style apartment I had restored board by board now looked like a construction site. Lumber, Rolls of insulation and tile samples littered the entryway. The front door was wide open, and through it, I saw men tearing apart the kitchen. My kitchen, the same one I had spent 2 summers rebuilding. Zoe stood outside, barking orders into a headset, dressed in workout clothes as if she were hosting a home renovation show. "Oh, you're back," she said cheerfully when she saw me. "Perfect timing. We're opening up the space." This old layout was a nightmare. I leaned on Carla's arm for support, not just from weakness, but to keep myself from lunging at her. "Zoe, this is my house," I said carefully. "You can't just renovate without permission. You don't even pay rent." She didn't even blink. "Actually, it's our house now. Remember? You transferred it to us. You were so generous." She beamed, a sickeningly sweet smile. "It must be the medication clouding your memory." Roberto appeared in the doorway. He said nothing as always. "And since this is our house," she continued, "we thought it would be best if you recovered somewhere else. All this noise isn't good for healing. Carla has space, doesn't she?" I saw Carla stiffen beside me. I nodded. "Of course. Just let me grab a few things." "Oh, we already moved your stuff to the garage," Zoe chirped. "Didn't want the dust to ruin your clothes." My jaw clenched. "How thoughtful," I replied dryly. One of the workers brought out 2 boxes and my bag of medications. No one even asked if I needed help carrying them. Carla and I drove in silence, but I didn't cry. Not from sadness. From something colder, clarity. That night, back in Carla's guest room, I opened my laptop and accessed the feed from the hidden cameras I had installed 3 months earlier. Back when the twins started using my office and I felt that strange twinge in my gut. Everyone thought I was paranoid. I discovered I wasn't paranoid enough. There she was, Zoe, strolling through my house like she owned it, pointing at walls, directing furniture placement. "We'll need all new appliances," she told a decorator, waving her hand dismissively. "And maybe knock down this wall too." Erica's taste was so dated. She rolled her eyes at the sound of my name, as if I were a dusty relic. Slowly, I closed the laptop. My hands were no longer shaking. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched everything. Every delivery, voice-controlled appliances, imported tiles, Italian marble countertops. Every penny spent came from a fraudulent home equity loan taken out in my name, without my knowledge. Sebastian came over one evening, spreadsheets in hand. "They've already spent over $100,000, he reported, his voice grim. "The loan documents are a mess. Half the signatures are inconsistent. Some forms are completely blank." They were incredibly sloppy. Carla spread more files across the dining table, our unofficial war room. Their contractor isn't even licensed for structural work, and they never pulled permits to take down that wall. I sipped my juice, reviewing the invoices. "Do we have enough?" I asked. Sebastian nodded. "We could file tomorrow." But Carla tilted her head. "Not yet. Let them dig themselves deeper. Every unauthorized renovation, every fraudulent charge, they're building your case for you." Just then my phone vibrated. A text message from Zoe. "The new kitchen is amazing. My followers are obsessed. When are you going to get the rest of your junk out of the garage? The kids need the space for their playroom." I turned the phone towards Carla. "They're going to throw my things away." Carla's jaw tightened. "I'll send my brother Christian over tomorrow with a truck. We'll pretend he's with a junk removal service." The next day, I watched through the cameras as Zoe waved Christian towards the garage, as if he were invisible. "You can take it all," she said dismissively. "It's all trash anyway." But it wasn't trash. It was my life. The books my grandmother gave me, Dad's board games, the dollhouse I got from Mom. Christian loaded everything carefully, texting me as soon as he was done. All safe. She didn't even notice. That night, over dinner, Carla said, "The contractor said the renovations will be finished next week. Zoe's planning a big reveal party for her influencer friends." I scrolled through her social media. Videos of my living room, my balcony, my dining room, all labeled as hers. From drab to fab, the modern nest dream transformation. "She's using my stolen house to build her brand," I murmured, bitterness rising in my throat. "Let her," Carla said, her eyes glinting with quiet determination. "Let her reach the peak of her delusion," she continued. "The fall will be so much sweeter." I nodded slowly because I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The invitations went out a week later. Or rather, Zoe's Instagram posts. A carefully curated stream of champagne flutes, floral arrangements, and captions like, "Final touches before our grand reveal. Can't wait to show you all the transformation we poured our hearts into. Hashtag dream home, hashtag makeover." She had no idea that behind every wall, beneath every slab of marble, lay the legal equivalent of a time bomb, ready to detonate. From Carla's guest room, I watched the preparations unfold in real time through the hidden cameras she and Sebastian had helped me install months ago. Caterers arrived. Valet signs appeared. A welcome sign reading "The Lewis Family Estate" stood where my rose garden used to be. Sebastian sat beside me, flipping through legal documents. "Everything's in place. We file the moment you give the word." Carla looked over his shoulder. "Are you sure you want this to be public?" I watched Zoe twirl in a white jumpsuit, holding a champagne glass, live streaming her own downfall. "I want everyone to see what she built on lies," I said, my voice steady. "Let her reach the peak." And then we waited. The day of the party arrived with perfect weather, blue skies, golden sun, ideal for selfies, ideal for real consequences. We parked a few houses down. Sebastian had folders full of evidence. Carla sipped her coffee as if it were any other Saturday. I held my phone like a trigger. Zoe beamed at the camera, giving a tour of the house. This space was such a disaster before, but now, total transformation. Then she raised her glass. "A toast to new beginnings." I typed one word into our group chat. Now. 4 police cars arrived. Officers approached from both ends of the street. Confused guests looked around. Someone dropped a glass. The lead officer walked up to the front door. "Zoe Lewis?" "Yes," she replied, stunned. "You're under investigation for fraudulent property transfer, identity theft, and unauthorized loans." "This is our house," she insisted. "We have the paperwork." Sebastian stepped forward. Fraudulent paperwork. Forged signatures. The notary's license was revoked last year. Phones were held high, guests recording, whispers spreading. Then Carla and I walked through the front door. Zoe froze. "Zoe, what a lovely reception," I said, my voice dripping with irony. "Quite the reveal." She stammered. "What are you doing here?" "Taking back what's mine," I replied. "This is my house. It always has been." Roberto moved towards me. "We can explain." "You already have," I retorted icily. "To the cameras. Every time you joked about conning me while I was sick, it's all recorded." A guest near the buffet asked, "Are they going to be arrested?" "Absolutely," Sebastian said. "Forgery, illegal loans, unlicensed construction. This is all serious." The police officers handcuffed Roberto and Zoe. She shrieked, "Wait. What about the renovations?" "Our things." "You mean my things?" I replied. "In my house." The guests began to discreetly slip away, silently filming. Someone dropped a plate. Zoe's last live stream became a digital crime scene. As the police cars drove away, #LewisScam was already trending. Carla stood beside me in the ensuing silence. "Are you okay?" she asked. I looked around the house at the wreckage of lies, at what I had rebuilt within myself. I said, my voice steady, finally free. 6 months later, the house bore no resemblance to the chaos of Zoe's party. The cheap gold accents were gone, replaced by clean lines and subtle tones. The original hardwood floors gleamed, and I had restored the cabinets again, this time carefully and on my own terms. The court ordered Zoe and Roberto to repay every penny spent on the fraudulent loan. They took a plea deal to avoid jail time, but the damage to their reputation was irreversible. Zoe's influencer career was over. Every time she tried to post something, someone would comment, "Is this house yours or someone else's again?" One quiet morning, Carla came over with coffee. We sat in the breakfast nook, my breakfast nook, and she raised her mug. "This place looks better than ever." "Feels better," I said. "It's mine again, not just on paper, but in spirit." Sebastian joined us that afternoon, a smile on his face. "Last fraudulent loan payment cleared. Your credit isn't just restored, it's better than before." "Thank you," I told them, "for everything." Carla laughed. You're the one who installed the cameras, who documented everything, who waited and acted smartly. You didn't lose your cool. You waited until the truth could burn brighter than any anger. She was right. I had learned to act with coolness, silence, and calculation, to play the long game. I used to think kindness made me weak, that love meant saying yes even when it hurt, that family meant enduring whatever they threw your way. But I don't believe that anymore. Family isn't just who shares your blood. It's who shows up when everything falls apart. It's who tells you the truth. It's who respects your boundaries, not just your generosity. Real family doesn't exploit your silence. They honor your voice. I learned that family are those who support us and stand by us whenever we need them, regardless of blood ties. Thank you for listening to Erica's story. What did you think of her attitude? Would you have done the same? Share in the comments if you've been through something similar with relatives. If you enjoyed this story, please like and share this video to reach more people, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories.